Welcome, friends and family, to another episode of the Backdoor Cut Show. Today, we're going to talk some Grizzlies basketball. Had a fun weekend. Grizzlies on a West Coast road trip. We'll talk all about that. We had boots on the ground out in LA. Some close-up reporting from our guy Slim. You can find us on the Barn Burner Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, all those cool places. Also, check out our work at the-barnburner.com. I am Zach. You can find me on Twitter at barnburnerbro. And with me today, I got Mason and Rich. And Mason, how are you?
What it do, baby? As you just mentioned, I got to see us drop 140 on what many thought was going to be like the best defensive team in recent history in the LA Clippers. They didn't have Paul George, Palmdale's finest, but it was good to get to see Ja in person for the first time, see Jaren, and, give some good luck to Jay Crowder. I think he just needed to come see your boy, and now he's shooting that hoe again. So we're winning the games, man. It's a fun time to be a Grizz fan. This team is so fun, so resilient. Even in the games we lose, we've only been blown out a couple times. It's not like in years past when we would get down 10, 15, and that shit would just snowball and just go all the way downhill. And the next thing you know, we're down by 40. I tweeted the other day, I love this team's resiliency. And, man, they're just fun as hell. Light years beyond where I expected we would be this year. So it's just making this season so much more fun. And, we can get into the playoff race, or do we need to be losing later on in the show? But right now, just sit back and enjoy the kids. What's up, Rich?
Yo, what's good, yo? What's popping? I'm doing well too. I can't complain. Similar to Slim, man, these Grizz are just, really showing out right now. But aside from basketball, I'm also very happy because as a proud Tennessee Titan fan, we have effectively ended the New England Patriots dynasty. Is that a little too dramatic? Too much? Too far? Okay. But man, shout out to those Tennessee Titans, man. Bring that home. Out in Foxborough, ending Tom Brady's potentially Patriot career on a pick six by my man Logan Ryan, man. So shout out to those Titans playing in Baltimore this Saturday. Let them know what's up, man. Tighten up, baby.
Hey, I got a question for y'all, man. Could all three of us tackle Derrick Henry
Not
if we try?
I'm not getting in his way, are you?
It would be just two of y'all because I'm not trying to tackle his ass.
No, not a chance.
Hey,
that man's a moving brick wall.
That's a grown ass man. Like every time I see that picture from when he's in Alabama and Mark Ingram is standing next to him, and he just makes him look like a little kid. It's ridiculous, man. Shout out to Derrick Henry.
Facts.
NFL's rushing leader. Titans go into Baltimore. So kind of taking it back to the old days, back when it was the AFC Central or something, when we used to play them all the time. Steve McNair, Ray Lewis. Really looking forward to that battle. This is not a football podcast. No, you didn't come to hear our takes on that, but we got to show love where it's due, man. Go Titans.
Yes, sir.
Team Tennessee, as Fox Sports, Southeast has deemed it. So
yeah, man, we're gonna leave the Preds out because they just fired their coach hours ago. So
they did.
I can't say anything about hockey, so I'll leave that there. All right. So last week, Grizz went out to West Coast, played Sacramento, and had a big lead in that one. Blew that game. That was kind of frustrating, but then we won't have to talk too much about that.
There's a few things to hit on. First of all,
what you got?
We scored 42 points in the first quarter. Like, that was ridiculous. Yeah. And then we scored 40 against the Clippers. Like, this team is just scoring points. Of course, we give them right back up to the Kings. We gave up 37 in the second. But my main takeaway from this game was, man, De'Aaron Fox kind of big boy Ja Morant. He had 5 steals and just did whatever he wanted to do to Ja Morant. Outscored him, out-assisted him, and as I mentioned, forcing him into all kinds of turnovers. And just that was like the most uncomfortable, or maybe it's the most human Ja has looked in a while.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of, I was taken aback. I was like, oh damn, like
we're still not used to seeing that. Yeah.
So that was my main takeaway, was he's still got some growing to do, especially when it comes to guards who are of his same ilk.
I was kind of disappointed that Pat Bev didn't play in the Clippers game. I was looking forward to seeing that matchup.
Yeah, well, in the Clippers matchup now, they ended up putting Kawhi Leonard on Ja, and then we saw the Suns the next night put Kelly Oubre on him. So it's basically the playoff treatment that teams used to give Mike Conley, or the fourth quarter treatment Ja Morant is now seeing as a rookie.
Yeah, exactly. And so Sacramento, Grizzlies fell. That was kind of we almost saw that later in the week with the Suns. That game was way too close for comfort. But Clippers pretty much took it to them. What'd you see? Was that your first time seeing Ja, Mason, in person?
Yeah, it was my first time seeing them in person. And so when I walked into the arena, we got there a little bit late, like a couple minutes into the first quarter, because my cousin has a baby and like we had to get the bag searched and all that. It's a whole process. It's a whole process going to games with the baby now. You can't. It's not the 90s. You can't just walk in with backpacks and shit anymore. So, anyways, we walk in, and the first thing that happens is like the crowd goes ooh, and that's when Ja is catching the oop in the first quarter, and then just like it seems like mere moments later is when he made Jerome Robinson. Oh, I forgot my phone in the car. When he hit him with that step back, and Jerome Robinson went from the 3-point line to the paint, and Lou Williams just hit Ja with that. Damn, shot. That was nice. And then Ja hit the three, and I mean Staples Center. There was a applause for Ja Morant in Staples Center, so he's definitely bringing the fans out all across the country, which is something Grizzlies fans really haven't seen, except for like in Denver. Grizzlies fans are big in Denver. I don't know what it is, but so seeing Ja in person was great. And then Jay Crowder was shooting off. LA Clippers fans, they kind of knew this whole basketball thing. They only been around a couple years, so they were like, man, that dude's a real shooter. I'm like, yeah, man, he's shooting in the midst of his worst season as a pro. But
I just hope some front office, that's like the only tape that they watch is that Clippers game.
Right. And then so just one more takeaway from being in person. Kawhi in the first half felt like the same Kawhi that I watched as my last game or maybe it wasn't my last game as a Grizzlies employee, but that playoff series when he was going at it with Mike Conley, that's what the first half felt like, because Kawhi was just not missing. He had 18 in the first half, and I was like, I don't think this dude is going to miss. And so, but luckily he only scored 6 in the second half, and the Grizzlies ran off on him. The Clippers kind of made one little run in the second quarter and one to start the third. Other than that, man, that was not the Clippers team we've seen all year. Like, they did not look like they wanted to be there. And credit the Grizzlies for jumping on them early and not, giving them a chance to get back into the game. So that was just kind of some of my takeaways, just being there in person, just seeing Ja, and like everything looks so easy. Like just anything, like he can do anything. It's like a pass fake and making the dude look the other way is nothing now. And like back, last year, Fox Sports Southeast would have been all over like that replay. They'd be like, oh, look at this highlight. Now it's like, it's just Ja.
He's throwing oops, catching oops, like just passing with both hands. I think that is still, to me, one of the most impressive things that he can do is has his court vision and can just whip the ball with either hand to the corner.
I think my favorite takeaway from Ja's like ankle breaker of Jerome Robinson is the guy in the front row who's like, travel. No, it's a travel. It's a fucking travel, man. Like,
dude, that's a travel.
It's a travel. What are you doing?
Hey, man, I told you them bros are new to basketball.
That's not a fucking travel, my guy. Your boy got broke. Your boy got broke, dog.
Oh, shit.
I almost was like, is he going to shoot this? Because he took at least 3 seconds before he shot the ball. It was just like the whole world seemed to freeze, and he's like, he just rubbed it in as much as he possibly could.
Yeah, Ja does not give a fuck, man, and I love it. Like, I love it. I love I don't want to say disrespectfulness. That might be the wrong word, but just Ja is just unapologetic. Let's go with unapologetic. Like, he doesn't care that he's like a rookie or, you know what I'm saying? Like, and shout out Boston College, Jerome Robinson. But yeah, he's being talked about right now because he got his ass broke. And yeah, man, I've just never seen a player of Ja's magnitude and caliber who just comes in with like, one, first and foremost, a chip on the shoulder, but two, just the balls to handle it and just take anything that's given. And yeah, man, he's just fucking exciting as hell. Just electric, dog.
Yeah, he's very, very special. And then Grizzlies went into Talking Stick Arena,
Terrible fucking name.
where the Suns Gorillas, or the Phoenix Gorillas, the Phoenix Suns, went in there. Jonas, I think, was probably the big story of the first half. He ended the game with 30 points and 8 rebounds on 12 of 16 shooting. So super efficient game from Valanciunas. That was really big. Another big.
I'm glad Sam in here to interject and be like, yeah, but his fucking defense sucks. Trade him right now.
Well, his defense not good.
No, it's awful.
At first, I was like, it took me a while to pinpoint exactly what is bad about his defense. Most of it. That's what I've come to decide. He can play 1-to-1 in the post if someone is trying to make a post-up move on the block. Otherwise, he's out of the play pretty much. He's just a roving body.
Yeah, and watching him try to guard Montrezl Harrell, it really put it into perspective. Like he can't stop anyone. Like Trez just looked at him and was like, "I'm about to take you," and he did. Like I said, he had 14 in the first half. Rashawn Holmes, he did us dirty in Sacramento too. We're really struggling with bigs lately. And as you said, JV just drops back to the restricted area and lets the guard who's coming off that screen do whatever the hell they want to do. And I don't know if that's the scheme. I think it is. I think that is what Taylor Jenkins wants him to do because he probably is going to get burnt if he hedges. But I would like to see him try and see what kind of skills he has if he can hedge and slow the ball down because the analytical defense in the NBA right now is forcing them into long twos, which is great. And that's what our principals are kind of leading us to, or not kind of, that's what they're leading us to do. But when you get below the free throw line, that's not a long two.
That's a layup.
Automatic two. So, yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but I had to give a shout out to the chief who couldn't be with us today. I'm probably watching a movie or something, man. Who knows?
Also, Jonas was 3 of 4 from beyond the arc.
Yeah.
He's almost getting to that level where I'm almost thinking it's going in. Like he takes that top of the key shot, he's money from there, and that really helps spread the offense out. It reminds me of when Mark started shooting out there, and he was just money from there. That was just back then. That was a big something totally new. But I'm glad that Jonas is able to hit that shot with at least some semblance of consistency.
Over the last 10 games, what do y'all think JV's 3-point percentage is?
60.
40.
64% from 3. And he's making 1 per game over the last 10. So, yeah, like you're saying, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, just being able to hit 1 opens up, and they have to respect you at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Shout out to JV.
So last week, Chris Harrington wrote a big article, his Grizz Weekly, and he has a bunch of stats in there. But one thing I looked up today that thought was interesting is that 42% of the Grizzlies shots over the past 3 games, which was, I consider that last week, were from 3. And they hit 42% of those shots. So I don't have the numbers of what that ratio was in previous years, but that's definitely trending in the direction that the Grizzlies are trying to move this program. And it sure does not hurt hitting those at a 42% clip. And, we know most of that is due to Jaren. He's probably the biggest factor in that high percentage.
Well, these last 3 games, Dylan had some big moments. Jay, of course, went off. So it kind of seemed like everyone was shooting. But, yeah, Jaren is an elite shooter. Damn, I just completely lost my train of thought on what I was going to say.
So Kirk Goldsberry, author of Sprawl Ball, he tweeted out the most efficient jump shooters of 2019 and 2020 so far. Number 1, he ranked them by effective field goal percentage, which weights 3-point shots compared to 2-point shots. So you get a more of a weighting for hitting a 3-pointer as opposed to a 2-pointer. Duncan Robinson of the Heat 67%. Davis Bertans, 63. JJ Redick, 62. And Jaren, 62. So he is with minimum 200 attempts in this category. So he is essentially one of the most efficient jump shooters in the league right now. Just silence. You guys like that?
That's just it's just. I mean, he's a shooter now. Like, and that release is so quick. Like he gets it up. Like no hesitation now. Like if Jaren has some space, sees some daylight, he's jacking that hoe. And I just don't know if I've ever seen a quicker or swifter transformation so quickly. Like he's a bona fide shooter. It's crazy. I saw people on Twitter talking about put Jaren in the 3-point shootout. And okay, but no. But like that's just wild, man. Like he's a bona fide stretch four. And this dude is 21 years old.
And that's even including his slow start to the season.
Yeah.
Where he was cold as ice. And now we know we had the one game where he hit 7 threes in a quarter. So that was kind of like a peak. But he still maintained, hitting multiple threes in most of the games over a pretty long stretch.
I mean, he's not just a bona fide 3-point shooter. He's one of the best damn shooters in the NBA in his second year, and he's 20 years old. So my initial reaction when I saw that tweet, I kind of looked at it and I was like, okay, that's cool. And I closed it. And I said, hold on. I went back to the tweet. I said, Jaren up here with the white boys. like, right ahead of Olympic team Joe Harris. I'm like, what the fuck? So, yeah, I mean, that is just unreal. To Duncan Robinson is like out of this world 3-point shooter. Davis Bertans has become like one of the hottest names in the league for his advancement this season. And then JJ Redick is an all-time great shooter. And then it's Jaren Jackson. And you mentioned that month when he couldn't throw it in the ocean from Venice Beach. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating transformation. So, Jaren, you don't have to play with your back to the goal. You have our approval to stretch it out as far as you need to.
Hey, man, stick with me. Told y'all not to give up on the man.
You were, if I remember correctly, you were wanting him to post up more.
Yeah, and he has been posting up more when he's got a small guy on him. That's common sense. And he gets buckets when he does it.
Yeah, he can get buckets from him anywhere, that's for sure.
Man, see him dunk on Baines too? You don't want him to dribble anymore? Because he fucking you don't want him to take those 3 dribbles 94 feet and lay it in after a steal? Come on, man. This dude's a ball player. He's shooting it right now, but there's more to his game than just a shooter.
Oh, absolutely.
This kid is 20 years old. He's going to be elite.
His dribbling looks at times a little clumsy, but I don't think that's something that he, isn't going to improve on every day.
Hey, Bambi looked clumsy when he was trying to learn how to walk too.
I ain't hating, man. I'm not hating.
I'm just having to get on you because the Chief's not here.
So it's not just Jaren's jump shooting that's been impressive this season. So the Grizzlies, according to Grizzlies PR, had 30-plus assists in 3 straight games. So where do you guys think that the Grizzlies rank in team assists on the season? So, does that question make sense? The amount of assists for the team per game, where do you think we rank in the league? Unless you already cheated and looked at the notes. Which
I cheated.
Okay, I'll just tell everyone then.
Well, I had it in my stats too, so.
Rich, you look?
No. Maybe. Yes.
All right, so Grizzlies are second in assists per game as a team with 27.3, behind only the Bright Future Suns. And also we have 2 players in the top 40 in assists per game. So that'd being Morant is 17th with 6.6 per game, and then Tyus Jones is 40th with 4.9. So not only are we fortunate enough to have one of the elite shooters on our roster, this team also appears from that statistic at least to have good chemistry. They're sharing the ball well, creating open shots for each other, and leading to 140-point games.
You don't happen to have the top 5 teams in front of you, do you?
Nah, I can look it up real quick.
It's okay. But just with the Suns and us being top 2, I'm like, that's kind of scary. maybe somebody needs to hog that thing a little more.
You're saying because Phoenix is not really...
Because Phoenix sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix is so bad, man. They were 7-point favorites yesterday.
So, funny tweet that I saw was Anthony Sane tweeted that he was watching the Phoenix broadcast of the game yesterday, and the Grizzlies were starting to come back. And I'll paraphrase, but the Phoenix announcers were saying something like, "Oh yeah, you kind of see this with a young team. It's easy to see why they're at the bottom of the West." When I'm gonna pull this thing we call the standings up right now, and it appears that the Grizzlies are half a game ahead of the Suns, so throwing shade at themselves, shade at their son. Sorry,
Man, do I need to call Charles Barkley and tell him how bad it's been in Phoenix? We need to get an audio tune out here. Because I mean, you can't blame them. They haven't had anything to root for in a long time. So, can you imagine being a broadcaster for the Suns? Like, if that guy's been there for longer than like 1 year, like he probably hates his life. It's probably brutal. I mean, he lives in Phoenix, Arizona, which is nice. Shout out to Taylor Damel from Theater and College Hoops, our Phoenix resident. But fuck the Suns, man. They're so trash. DeAndre Ayton, you chose him with the number 1 pick.
Yeah, right. The whole game, I'm like, I'm trying to evaluate him and everything. I'm like, I'm just not super impressed with him. Like,
and I mean, who plays 2 centers? They had him and Aaron Baines on the court. I'm like, no wonder, like nothing is going right. I thought Monty Williams and he did have him going in the right way, at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. But yesterday after the game, did y'all read his post-game comments?
What did he say?
Like, if we don't learn how to follow a game plan, there's going to continue to be nights like this where we're good, and nights like this where we get whooped, and nights where we're good. Like, we got to learn how to follow a game plan. So I don't know if he's talking to Book.
Damn.
You can send Book on over to Memphis. That'd be a nice third superstar. But so the Suns, man, I don't know. I don't know what they can do to get out of the hole that they've dug themselves in.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely a tough place to be. All right, we have some comments. We have Dom Castro 989 asks if we are real or fake.
We real, buddy. Real as it gets.
Then they asked if we can see your comments. So yes, we can see them, and then everyone else who is watching on the Periscope. So you can actually watch us record on Periscope every week at _barnburner, where we're broadcasting live right now. So we got those stats on team assists behind the Suns. We ragged on the Suns. That was enjoyable.
Oh, this will end our ragging on Phoenix. It's another tweet.
We don't have to.
Maybe we should have a tweeter corner. But Josh Eberly, who is with NBA Canada, he writes for a couple different outlets. He had a poll, and it had 20,000 votes. He asked, which duo would you want over, the long haul, over the next several years? Which franchise's duo? Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton got 23%. De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley got 6%. Ooh. Trae Young, John Collins got 15%. First of all, I'm taking Fox and Bagley over Trae and Collins. But our boys, Ja and Jaren, got 56% of the votes. And this is from no connection to Grizzlies Twitter or anything like that. This is a guy from Canada, a national writer, tweeting this. He got 39,000 followers and 20,000 votes, and 56% are in favor of Ja and Jaren. So, fucking shout out to the lottery night 2 years in a row. Gave us that 4 pick with Jaren, gave us that 2 pick for Ja. We appreciate you, Adam Silver. Shout out to David Stern, RIP.
So, in other news this week, today, I believe it's today. What's today? Monday. Yep. News surfaced that Ja Morant has been invited to the dunk contest. You think he's gonna go?
I mean, a few minutes ago, he tweeted out like the thinking emoji with like the thought cloud.
Oh.
He's definitely like playing into it for sure. I mean, shit. I mean, the people would love to see it. You know what I'm saying? He'll already be there for sure for the Rising Stars game. I mean, that's a given, of course. So,
Oof. Rising Stars game, man. I tried to watch that last
yeah,
year.
it's terrible. It's terrible. But I mean, guards and smaller dudes, I feel, have an advantage in the slam dunk contest. Like, you're just that much more electrifying. Like, it just looks that much more exciting. So, I mean, we talk about Ja putting the Grizzlies on the map nationally, which he's already done. That's just taking it to a whole nother level, man, because Ja definitely would have a solid chance of bringing that thing home. I think Dwight Howard's doing it again this year, too. I saw that.
That's only two names that I've
Yeah, it's D. White and and Derrick Jones Jr. from Miami, the human airplane. I mean, that dude can fly. He's been in the contest before though. Will Ja do it? I don't think he will. Superstars don't do the dunk contest, so I don't think he's going to end up doing it. I imagine the Grizz front office is probably saying, "Nah, you stay back. Don't do that. Yeah. Getting skills." Challenge, do that, playing your rookie sophomore game, and hey, maybe the All-Star game, because our boy was 10th in the first returns of All-Star voting. So what is superstar? Was Mike Conley ever 10th? No. I can tell you he was. He was. When I worked on the team, he was.
Oh yeah, you were hustling for votes for him, and I remember that. Yeah,
not on the first returns at least, but you know, it's just what a superstar. He's just, man, All-Star weekend. We're going to have him, Jaren, Brandon Clark, D'Anthony Melton maybe in the sophomore game. We might just play Grizz young folks versus the rest of the league. Let's do it.
I saw on NBA Math tweeted they have some sort of metric, some advanced metric, and they're 1 and 2 in Rookie of the Year for them were Ja and Brandon.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people, if you're really paying attention, Brandon Clark's definitely going to be high up on your list.
I mean, what other rookies? You got Kendrick Nunn, but he's really cooled off in Miami. He's still playing solid, but not putting up the gaudy numbers that he was.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett and the Knicks. Nah. I don't know who else you would put up there, you know? But Zion should be back soon. They said he played 3-on-3 with his teammates today. He's been playing 3-on-3 with coaches, and the plan is to have him play like 5-on-5 like tomorrow or the next day. So hopefully for the MLK Day game, which ends our upcoming 6-game homestand, we'll get to see Ja versus Zion.
Yeah, I was reading the power rankings earlier. I don't know if it was on ESPN or The Athletic, and in the Grizzlies little excerpt, it was just like, yeah, the Rookie of the Year race is already over. It's a wrap.
I mean, it is. It is. Unless he doesn't play another game. It's crazy that we're 37 games into the season, almost halfway there.
It's just flying by.
It's amazing how fast it goes when there's actual fun things happening.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll be halfway through the season after the 5th game of this homestand, and if you would have told me 37 games into the season that we would be, have we mentioned this yet? A half game out of the playoffs? I would have told you you're a damn fool.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I sure was not expecting that.
I mean, we only got 15 wins, and the West the bottom of the West is really, really struggling. We didn't expect Portland. Portland made the Western Conference Finals last year and is below us. You know, they let a lot of guys go, but the Spurs are right there. We got a chance to really move into this 8 seed if we win. But
did you just say if we want to? Was that coming out of your mouth?
I was about to say if we want to, but then I forgot that I was going to play the other role in this podcast. So, because let's be honest, man, this stuff ain't going to last. We're going to start losing games when we trade Jay. Who knows what's going to happen? Any of the veterans could get traded. Valanciunas could be traded. Kyle Anderson, we ain't playing him anyway. He might get traded. So just it's not necessarily losing those guys. It's what we get in return and how we fill those minutes.
Are they going to be like good players, or are they just going to be dumps?
They might be young,
Dump
who knows?
contracts.
Yeah, they might be dump contracts, exactly, because we're trying to take on assets. So like we might get some scrubs.
Yeah, thanks. I want to give a shout out to Grizz God. He's given some feedback to us. He agrees with Mason and hopes that Morant does not participate in the dunk contest. Hashtag more than a dunker. And then he suggested, jokingly, Michael Porter Jr. for another Rookie of the Year candidate. He's had some hot games. That's why I picked him up in Dynasty League, baby.
I didn't even notice it.
Drafted him in the bajillionth round, so that's a little sleeper for me. All right, so I ran a poll today on Twitter. I'm gonna pull this up.
Twitter corner, man. I'm telling you, Twitter corner.
Dude, Twitter can just give you content for hours. You don't need much else. I said, which player has played the biggest role in the Grizzlies' victories this season? Ja, Jaren, or Dylan? So I have an answer that I have come up with based on some things that I've looked at.
So I feel like this is a trick question. Grizzlies victories. Now it's like a school question. Like make sure you read it correctly because I want to say Ja, and then I want to Jaren. I don't think anyone voted for him, but there's some crazy stat like when Dylan scores 20 or more, we don't lose. So that's making me think that it might be Dylan Brooks.
That's exactly the thinking I had. Like when I saw your poll, just thinking about Dylan, and I mean, I'm just gonna say he's pretty important to the team, right? He's a pretty important piece to the team right now, and so I'm just thinking of if he had one of those nights where he was just super off, super just not really positively contributing, and how much he does contribute when he's on, and he's just fucking in the zone. I could see how Dylan could be the vote for some of your voters. I don't know, man. That's tough.
I will say that my analysis did not coincide with what the voters said at all.
Well, I voted for Ja Morant.
So you got a job. What about you, Rich?
I too voted for Ja Morant.
All right. So Twitter poll says a couple hundred voters, 71.5% said Ja, 23 to Jaren, and 5 to Dylan.
Shit, read way too much into that one.
Never mind.
But I'm still.
But here's what I've got to say about that. All right. So I compared those three guys, some key metrics for wins and losses. So Ja, in wins, he scores 18.14 points and gets 6.6 assists, 1.3 points per field goal attempt. All right, so 18, 6, and 1. In losses, he gets 17.17 points, 6.53 assists, and 1.25 points per field goal attempt. Pretty much the exact same thing. He scores 1 point less in losses as opposed to wins.
Right.
So pretty much he's consistent. And those numbers line up, very closely to his per game averages. Jaren, in wins, he scores 15 and 2/3 points on 1.27 points per field goal attempt. So I'm measuring his efficiency also, not just his counting stats. In losses, he actually averages 4 points more, 19.19 points and 1.31 points per field goal attempt. So Ja, no difference. Jaren, it scores slightly more, a little bit more efficient in losses. Dylan, on the other hand, in losses, a shade under 11 points per game, 10.9, and he's shooting 1.45 out of 4.6, so he's shooting 31% from the three-point line. In wins, he's scoring nearly 20 points, 19.9 points, and hitting almost 3 of 6 attempts for 46%. So my argument is that as Dylan goes, so the Grizzlies go. The other two guys are, I mean, there's obviously more guys on the team, but that's a pretty big variance. His points literally double, and his efficiency increases by 50% from beyond the arc.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely. So with Ja and Jaren, they're our superstars, but they're not LeBron James and Anthony Davis
Right.
yet. They're not going to win us games, but we do need them to be consistent. There might be a game here or there where they have an off night and we pull out a win somehow, but usually it's going to be hard for us to win if they're not both giving us like at least 15, I would say.
Right.
So the supporting cast is definitely important. And with Dylan, man, I don't know if I've ever loved and hated a player's game as much as I do Dylan Brooks. Like,
oh man,
I really can't think of anyone else. Like, because when he's hot, you can't like. It's just out of this world hot. He doesn't even. He almost gets Klay Thompson like where he doesn't even catch it. They pass it to him and like it automatically touches his hand and goes up and swishes through. But then like you get nervous because after he makes like 2 or 3 in a row, you're like, oh shit.
Oh, he's gonna airball one for sure.
Because if you give him the ball after that and he doesn't have a catch and shoot shot, he ain't passing it to you unless like he does like 3 spin moves and has to get it off and hopes to get it back. Like, which that's kind of like YMCA rec center ball. Like, yo, I hit 3 in a row. I'm shooting this next one no matter what. At least that was my mindset. So.
That's only going to put my average from 100 to 75%. I'm taking it.
Oh, man. Yeah, but shout out to Dylan, man. Over these last 10 games, he's averaged 15 points, shooting 43% from deep. So as a role player, really – and we forget that this is his 3rd year, but he missed basically all of last year after playing all 82 games. So it's kind of like his 2nd year in the NBA, Jaren's 2nd year, Ja's first. All these guys are growing together. So just, I mean, yeah. How do y'all feel about Dylan? Like, if someone offered us a trade for him, like, I don't know what.
Like Kelly Oubre or.
That was personal last night. Him going at Kelly Oubre, I feel like.
That was personal.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's the same. Like, I hate him and I love him. And like, when he's hot, like you said, he's hot. And like, honestly, granted, last night, if he wouldn't have came in late in the 4th and hit those back-to-back threes, that game could have slipped away. Like those were 2. At first, I was thinking like, oh, these are just, add-ons, but that shit ended up really counting and really mattering. So, he just has no fear. Also, he has supreme confidence. And I think to your point, like he's basically in his 2nd year. We've got John BC in their 1st year and in his 2nd, like to see these guys really growing together. Right. We can see the camaraderie. We can see how hyped they get for one another on the bench, how much fun they seem to be playing with each other. For as much as Dylan frustrates all of us watching sometimes, I've never visibly seen many of his teammates frustrated with him, which is also a pretty interesting tidbit. And so I think it's all dependent upon the package, man. I don't know, like, because I know like we've got some contract stuff coming up. And so is Dylan a part of this future? Like, is Dylan a part of the core moving forward? Is I think the question at the front office is probably analyzing even more in depth than we are. It's probably something they're thinking about nightly.
Yeah, so if it's not what would you trade him for, it's how much are you willing to pay him?
I don't even think I want Kelly Oubre, to be honest, for him. I don't know. Kelly Oubre, I didn't see it yesterday, right? I know he has his flashes. He kind of looks the part, but I just didn't see it. I didn't see it at Kansas.
I like Oubre's game, and if you would have asked me before, this season got going, I would have said that the front office were idiots for not, pulling the trigger on that trade. But this version of Dylan we've been seeing, it's just something, and it's really like I always think about when he's playing. I think about Bill Simmons' take on championship teams. He's like, you need that irrational confidence guy who can come in and get hotter than a firecracker. And win you a game, but he's also going to cost you a couple games, or he might cost you a game in the playoff series if he doesn't produce. So I like to think of Dylan as our irrational confidence guy. I just don't know how much this offseason I'm willing to pay him. Is he our starting shooting guard moving forward? I think I'd rather see him in that 6-man role. honestly. But right now we just don't have the tools to do that. So it is what it is. He's our starting guard, and there's not a lot of people on the free agent market this year either. So it's just going to be interesting to see what this front office does with in terms of collecting assets moving forward. Zach, what's your thoughts on DB?
So before I answer that real quick, I'm going to go to another Twitter poll. Baby, I've got all Twitter research today. Made in Memphis poll from last night. She asked, would you trade Brooks or keep Brooks? Of course, that was after a big night where, he was instrumental to us beating the Suns. So I would assume that recency bias probably played into a lot of votes. But essentially, it's 60-40 in favor of keeping Brooks. Now, you ask that on another night, it's probably flipped the other way.
Right.
But my personal take on Dylan is that he has a special set of skills, like Liam Neeson.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
He can hit that catch and shoot, and as long as he is in that role and Jenkins can get him to stay in that defined role where he's efficient and helpful to the team, he's a great guy to have on your roster. But when he starts becoming irrational, trying to do 3 spin moves up and under in the post on 3 guys, that irks me. But like you said, this is his second NBA season. Maybe I shouldn't be optimistic about it, but I'm optimistic that Jenkins can harness that energy and have Dylan play the role that he's meant to play that is very beneficial for this team. So obviously right now, over the past few games, he's been doing pretty well. It's been very impactful and helpful for the team. Really, we'll see how that plays out the rest of the season. What do you think the odds are of us going into the summer as opposed to trading him?
I think we'll keep him this year.
You think, and then just see what he's going to cost us on the restricted market?
Yeah, I don't know how much he's going to get, and if we can bring him back for 3 years, $30 million, I'd be okay with that. JV style deal. More versatile player than obviously 2 completely different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back, and if that's the route that they go and we end up losing him, I wouldn't be mad. Someone offers him some ridiculous contract and we're just like, nah, fuck that. That'd be cool.
All I know is that for years and years and years, we've been begging for someone who can shoot 40% from the 3-point line, and we have one of those guys on our roster, and it seems like it would be tough for us just to let him walk.
We got 2 of those guys.
2, yeah, we have 3. Josh shooting over 40% too, just a lot lower attempts.
Right. So that'll be interesting. Over the last 10 games, I looked up our stats. We're 5-5 in our last 10. We're first in the league in points per game, averaging 118 points per game, which is
that makes sense.
It's crazy. We're first in the league in field goal percentage, shooting 49%. And on the season, we're 5th in field goal percentage, and we're 10th in points per game. So these are some jumps in this little 10-game span that I've taken out, but not huge jumps. We're not jumping from 19 to 2 or anything like that. We're first in assists in the last 10 games, as Zach brought up earlier. We're second on the season. And in the last 10 games, we're 3rd in 3-point percentage, shooting 38%. Normally, or throughout the entirety of the season, we're 12th. We're 27th in defensive rating, 26th in steals, 29th in opponent second chance points, and 29th in opponent points in the paint. So over our last 10 games, our defense has faltered and our offense has marginally improved. And we've been 5-5. Which, if we play 500 basketball, with this team, I think that's a good goal to play 500 basketball. So just some interesting tidbits. Basically what I'm saying is these last 10 games have been fun as hell with DeAnthony Melton in there. We've seen Marco Gaduric riding the pine. We've seen a little bit of Grayson Allen. We damn sure ain't seen no Bruno Caboclo, whose contract is guaranteed or not guaranteed tomorrow, January 7th.
Ooh. So we may not see him.
Damn.
And what makes the outlook dim for Bruno is when we trade Iggy or we trade Jay, we're probably going to have to bring back two
Multiple
players.
Guys, yeah.
And so that's this next month. I think the trade deadline's what, February 7th, February 8th, one of those days.
Yep, a month from tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's going to be a real interesting month to see how we navigate the trade waters and the roster moves that are made. So yeah, man, that's all I got in that segment.
A real quick dip into trade discussions. So one floating around, I don't know where it started, but I know Bleacher Report mentioned it, is Iguodala to the Lakers for Bradley and Kuzma. So whether or not it's true or whatever, what would you think about a deal structured around Kyle Kuzma?
I mean, if we can get a talent like Kyle Kuzma for Andre Iguodala, yeah, I'd do it. Obviously, that's no picks, but I think we've got other assets that we can acquire picks from. I'm not sure we get a first for Iggy. Like, he's been sitting around. He was kind of washed up last year.
Yeah.
If we could get Kuz for him, yeah, I'd do that.
Yeah, if we could get Kuz, like, sure. I mean, it'd be similar to our old friend Parsons, somebody who was meant for that Hollywood life. He'll have some baddies sitting courtside, hearing him for sure. But, I mean, like you said, I mean, he doesn't do much else on the basketball court but score. But, I mean, if given another opportunity, and I think he's also somebody who's still young in his career, he's been confined into a much different role than he was having to play in his first 2 years. So, I think there's still something in there in Kuz that he's not able to showcase as this sixth man off the bench for the Lakers. And then, of course, our old friend Avery Bradley, who's been starting in LA, been kind of suffering with some injury issues and whatnot. But, I mean, I'm with Slim. I just don't see us getting a first for Iggy at this point, at this stage. If we could get two in a second rounder and those two are Kuz and Avery Bradley, I'm honestly okay with that. I don't know how much it is that would actually happen, though.
Yeah, that was kind of my thoughts. I didn't have anything super special. I didn't know if either of you guys feel like arguing too much against it, but
I would take Kuz and Bradley before I take like a Montrez, not Montrez. No, I mean, what's the other dude? Damn, who's the other dude in the Clippers? What's his name? He's the guard. Damn it. It's like Jerome Robinson and
Shaman?
No.
Derek Walton?
Shit, not Derek Walton. Fuck. He has like a Montrez name. Shit. Hold up. This is gonna irk me. Wait.
Who are you talking about?
Let me see.
But
I want to see if I can guess this name.
Mo Harkless, man. Mo Harkless.
Oh yeah.
That was it. So I would take Kuz and Avery Bradley before I take like a package centered around Mo Harkless and Jerome Robinson, which I've also seen thrown around.
Yeah, I mean the only thing I can say for Mo Harkless is he was on that playoff Portland team last year, a starter, and they got rid of him and they fucking suck. So.
That's a big fact. That's a big fact.
But Aminu too. Just crazy, man. The next 6 games are all at home. We got Minnesota on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. A team many predicted would be way ahead of us in the standings, in the offseason, and they just haven't got it together. Then we have the Spurs, who we owe one because they came and whooped us. Probably the worst loss of the year, right? That went to the Spurs. When they put
when we gave up the most points ever.
Yeah. So we got Wolves, Spurs, Rockets. 3 winnable games. Hell, we're in a playoff race with the Spurs for 8th seed. Then we got Cleveland then we got Houston, Cleveland, and the Pelicans. So Minnesota, Spurs, Warriors, Rockets, Cleveland, Pelicans. That's some winnable games, folks.
Those are all winnable games.
I mean, yeah, we can even beat the Rockets.
Yeah.
They've known to take nights off. We catch them after a Magic City night or something like that. Atlanta, Memphis, back to back. So at the Pels game, of course, that homestand ends with the MLK Day game. It'll be on TNT. And then moving even further forward, 3 of our next 13 games are versus teams with a winning record. Just 3. That's it.
Wow.
Wow.
So we got a chance to really kind of make a run. That's what I was kind of alluding to earlier when I said if we want it, we can go get it. It's because we play a bunch of teams that are just like us, who we've been beating. And the road games in that 13, the only road games are at Boston, at Detroit, at New York, at New Orleans. At Boston is the only one that you're really like, oh, that's an L probably.
Right.
So, I mean, the opportunity is there, but
Damn.
as we mentioned, you know, this roster, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I was kind of trying to see what our contract situation was, and the guys that we've got locked up through 21, 22, there's 7 of them. Jaron, Brandon, obviously. Then we got Tyus, Jonas, and Grayson, and Kyle Anderson. I don't see any of them getting moved. Kyle, maybe, because the coaching staff doesn't seem like they're going to play him for whatever reason, even though he's productive when he's in there. He's a ball handler. He might be able to help in some of these stretches where they're blitzing Ja, and like when we can't get it over half court, Kyle can dribble and pass, and he's a smart basketball player. So I think he would be helpful in some of those like fourth quarter situations last night against Phoenix. But so that's 7 guys. I can't really see any of them being moved except for Kyle. And that's through 21, 22. So that's 2 years from now. Next year, we got a team option on Jaron. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. And Grayson. And then we already declined Josh Jackson's. Maybe Josh Jackson is our draft pick this year. Sam would be so mad if he heard me say that. Oh, fucking Chris Wallace, second draft.
From Kansas.
But do y'all think Josh Jackson is ever going to play a game for the Grizzlies, whether it's this season or beyond?
It's not trending that way.
I know.
It honestly isn't. If I had to put money on it, it would not be very much money. But I think I would say no.
I just feel like if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. Man, it just doesn't seem like it's in the cards. And I think that one, granted, minor slip up that he had, I think that was just, they're just going to use that as leverage to just, probably get him out of here, man. But it seems like he's been doing well with the hustle. The hustle have been playing great basketball, man. But I guess it just wasn't in the cards. Doesn't look that way.
And Mike from Memphis doesn't think that he'll ever make an appearance in Memphis either.
Shout out my boy Mike from Memphis, man. Big Mike. I know he's rooting for Josh Jackson, as am I. And here's what I'm holding on to. Once we make some of these trades and we bring some scrubs in and buy them out, that's when it's going to be time to unleash Josh Jackson. That's how we close the season, is him getting accustomed to his new boys, Jaron, and Brandon Clark. And then we re-sign him to a deal because we held him captive so long. No one is going to offer him a contract. And he's going to be like, damn, I really learned a lot in Memphis. Got to work on my game in the G League. And going to sign a little 2-year deal or something, then get paid after that.
That is a nice story. I hope it plays out like that.
Yeah.
I would have no problem with that.
Could be the weed.
Yeah, or maybe we wake up tomorrow, Bruno's cut, and Josh is in Memphis. So
Also could happen.
We'll see.
Also could happen, man. Y'all got anything else?
Now make sure to subscribe to the Barn Burner Podcast Network on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you get your shows, and check out the-barnburner.com. We appreciate you guys listening / watching the Backdoor Cut. This is Zach, Mason, and Richard, and we'll see you later.
Go Grizz, baby. Tighten up. Tigers got a big game at Wichita State on Thursday. Let's go!